What's up, y'all? Welcome back to a brand new video. In this one, I'm going to be going through the top 10 favorite movies of one of my best friends, Mr. Hayden Hasty, aka Dr. Hayden Hasty, soon to be. If you know, you know, right? So, if you don't know Hayden, you better get to know him. Great guy. One of my best friends, groomsman in my wedding. I mean, we've known each other since sixth or seventh grade. Eighth grade is when we started to become more friends, and then became really good friends in high school, and I've been really good friends ever since. And so this is episode 12 of this series of me reviewing other people's favorite movies. And so we're going to get into Hayden's list here. He sent me 10 movies, and I went through and watched them. So a couple of these are repeats, so I just gave, if I have a repeat, sometimes I'll rewatch the movie, but I want to be consistent, so I have a list of all of the movies that I've reviewed for this, and so typically I'll just kind of pull that score if I can remember it enough to not only give it a rating, but also give it an accurate review. So some of the repeats that he had, we'll start with those first three. First is Jurassic Park, which was on my brother-in-law Grant's movie list. Shout out to Grant, Daddy Grant, now a dad. Love that guy. But anyways, Jurassic Park, great movie. Hayden sent me a note that had all of his movies on there, and under each movie, he had like a little note that he had made for himself as he was narrowing it down to 10, is what he told me. And I won't divulge all of his notes. But for this one, he had two things written, and I'm going to tell you what those are. The first one is Jeff Goldblum, which is Hayden's favorite actor. So that makes sense. I respect that. And the second one, which this really speaks to me, dinosaurs. Right? I feel like every time I talk about Jurassic Park or any of the related movies, it's hard for those movies to not be good because dinosaurs are so freaking cool. And maybe I'm a nerd. Maybe I sound like a 6-year-old boy for saying that. Whatever. I don't care. Dinosaurs are cool. And if you disagree, that's on you. I think that really sums it up best. Dinosaurs, right? In Jurassic Park, they put that on display and used that to its advantage to the utmost effect. And like some of the sequels, it doesn't just bank on the fact that dinosaurs are cool. It's also just a really, really, really good movie. 9 out of 10. Next up, we have Interstellar, which was on the previous episode, Edmund, episode 11. That was on his list, and it's also on my list. I just talked about Interstellar, right? And Hayden just gets it too, right? One of the greatest movies ever made with, like, elite effects, extreme emotion, wonderful performances, compelling story. To me, this movie is Christopher Nolan's masterpiece. And when you've made movies like Memento, Inception, another freaking Dark Knight, Oppenheimer, that just won Best Picture, it's like that really means something to me. I think this is his masterpiece, though. I think this is his best movie. I love Interstellar. I could talk about it all day, but I won't because that would be a really long YouTube video. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have La La Land, which was on my sister-in-law Olivia's list. And this movie performs one of the most impressive feats that any movie could for me. And I can only think of one other movie that did that, and it was Avatar, the first Avatar. The first time I watched it, didn't like it at all. I was actually just talking to my brother, sorry about it, because we watched it for the first time together on a cruise ship. I don't know what we were doing. We must have just been out at sea, nothing to do. We turned on the TV and La La Land was on. We watched it. We both hated it. But I rewatched it for Olivia's list, and I did rewatch it for Hayden's list. It's so good. I really enjoy it. I really enjoyed it the second and third time. I think it gets better every time I watch it, and the music is so catchy. I watched it, I don't know, a week and a half ago. I'm still singing the songs, especially City of Stars. My son Ryder, he loves that song now. I always sing or whistle it to him while I'm changing his diaper. He freaking loves it. Ryan Gosling, oh my gosh, he's so freaking charismatic. Got to be one of the most charismatic people in Hollywood. Just great. Obviously, Emma Stone, wonderful too. Gives a wonderful performance. She's such a phenomenal actress. Their chemistry, the two of them, is electric. I mean, they've made 3 movies together, and they have such good chemistry. 8 out of 10 for La La Land. Next up, we have Schindler's List, which I know I'm laughing while saying that. Under Hayden's note for this one, he had 2 things. He had Best John Williams score, which I can't say that I share that opinion wholeheartedly, but I do respect his opinion, and I like that it's a different pick. If you were to ask me what the best John Williams score is, I would probably do one of the more nerdy movies, like Star Wars or Jurassic Park. Harry Potter is great. I think here I would probably say Harry Potter, but I respect the Schindler's List pick. And the other one underneath it, he put sorry. Joke's on him, because I didn't need to rewatch this movie because I just watched it recently for this poster right here. It was on there. So I already have my score, and I watched it somewhat recently. So I'm not going to subject myself to watching Schindler's List again, because it's one of those movies. It's a good movie. It's going to get a good score. It's not the kind of movie that me personally that I want to watch more than once. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's extremely powerful. It's good. Sometimes I talk about the rewatchability of movies and how that'll rank them higher for me. Schindler's List, the rewatchability isn't high, but that's not because it's bad, or that's not because it gets stale. It's just because it's so sad and hard to watch. I think that's probably most Holocaust and World War II movies and war movies in general, actually. But yeah, one of those movies that everyone I think should watch at least once. Once you've seen it, like I said, you'll probably won't want to watch it again. Liam Neeson gives a career performance here. And Ralph Fiennes, I don't know if I'd say this is his career performance, but it is definitely a fantastic performance. And he does what he does best, in my opinion, which is just playing a detestable, loathable villain. Powerful film. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. This is not my personal favorite Star Wars film, but I really respect Hayden picking it. And I do agree that it is very good movie. It's a movie that is bleak from the get-go, especially if you are a Star Wars fan. Even before seeing the movie, if you're a Star Wars fan, you know that it's not going to end well for the characters that are in it, right? The whole Rebel team that they have, the Rogue One team, is played extremely, extremely well. I won't even list all the actors, but I mean, Felicity Jones, Diego Luna, they were both great. I'm going to list all the actors now. Donnie Yen, Jiang Wen, and Riz Ahmed were all great. I want to give huge credit to Alan Tudyk, the voice of K2SO. I think he's so good in this movie. Alan Tudyk is like the best voice actor in Hollywood right now, in my opinion. Forrest Whitaker, Ben Mendelsohn, Mads Mikkelsen. A lot of these people have similar last names. They all give great performances here. I think everyone gives a great performance in this movie. Rogue One, it's not only a good Star Wars movie, just a very good film. Hayden said on his note that the last 20 minutes of this movie is the best 20 minutes in all of Star Wars, and it's not even close. I respect that take. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Cars, Ka-Chow. I've reviewed Cars 2 on here, and I think that film is treated extremely unfairly, and I will get on my soapbox and talk about that. And it's better than it gets credit for. That's what I'll say. But while I do enjoy that movie, I think the first is better. Owen Wilson gives a great voice performance as a character that to me is just so not Owen Wilson. You know what I mean? Like Lightning McQueen and Owen Wilson he doesn't have the same personality to me as most characters Owen Wilson plays. But Larry the Cable Guy is one of the all-time most likable movie characters, period, to me. As Mater, he's so good. Mater is the best. I love Cars. I think the friendship between Lightning McQueen and Mater is one of the best in movies. Something my wife and I were cracking up, because this is a joke that I didn't understand until I just watched it. I never understood that Mater was saying Mater like tomato, like tomato. I thought he was saying like because his company or whatever was Toe Mater, so I thought he was just saying that. But I feel really dumb for that, but I'm going to admit that to you. 9 out of 10 for Cars. Next up, we have Moneyball. Brad Pitt, so good. He and Jonah Hill have a very underrated chemistry. Like, I feel like you don't hear a ton of people talking about Moneyball. I think this might be my personal favorite Jonah Hill performance that I've seen. He's really good in it. I always love a little Chris Pratt appearance, and so I think that's cool that he's in this movie. I know this was one of his earlier roles. Me personally, I was seeing if I heard writer crying. Me personally, not a baseball guy, but there's so many good baseball movies, and Moneyball is amongst them, and I would say probably near the top. Such a cool story, made a great premise for a movie. 7.5 out of 10 for Moneyball. Next up, we have Midnight in Paris. It's an interesting concept for a film, though I will admit I did get a little bored while watching it. Somehow, though, I'll give it its credit that it made Rachel McAdams unlikable, which I did not know was a thing. And the thing that really got me going through this movie, we just talked about him a second ago, was Mr. Owen Wilson. Wow, was he good? He's just so entertaining. He plays a very layered character in this movie that he's just going through a lot. He has a lot of emotions, and he's not a perfect guy, but he's a good protagonist. Like I said, though, this movie, I didn't love it. It was a little boring to me. Not bad, just not my personal cup of tea. 5 out of 10. Next up, we have Good Will Hunting, which, sheesh, is just cinematic perfection. I love Good Will Hunting. I love Matt Damon. He is one of my favorite actors. It's either him or Tom Hanks. I go back and forth depending on who I've watched more recently. Robin Williams is the real star of this movie, though. He gives... I go between this or Dead Poets Society as what is his best performance, but I'm going to say it's this. When he enters the movie, it just turns the whole film on its head. I don't want to say it's a 180 because it's already a good movie. I know it's not a 360 because that would just be a circle. I don't know, 270, I guess. It just turns the movie completely around to where it goes from a already great movie to an already great movie, but it completely changes the dynamic. I don't know what. The way he can, but Robin Williams' character Sean is just so good. The way that he completes other characters' sentences, it just shows you how in touch he is with people. The language he uses towards Will, where he starts by calling him sport and champ and using things that a dad or a father figure would call him. And by the end of the movie, he's calling him son. I just think it's so heartwarming. It's such a well-written film. This movie packs so much in, and just from the start, it's going from the beginning. It's oh, Will is really smart. I think it has a perfect ending. Ben Affleck's Chucky is such a good friend. The speech that he gives Will at the construction site, where he's "You're my best friend, but every morning when I come to pick you up, I hope you're gone and moved on to bigger and better things because I know that's what's in store for you." And then how he just smiles at the end of the movie when Will follows that advice and leaves. I've talked about this before. One of my all-time favorite scenes in movies, top 2, top 3, is the scene in the bar where Will just comes and absolutely destroys that guy and to pick up the girl, and then he walks up to him after and is "You like apples? How you like them apples?" I just think that's such a good scene. That's one of my favorite scenes in any movie ever. 10 out of 10 for Good Will Hunting. Fantastic movie. And finally, we have Whiplash, which was my surprise of the list. This is a very thrilling movie, and I don't mean thrilling like a roller coaster, woo. I mean thrilling like a roller coaster, oh my gosh. It's it makes your heart drop, and it's just, oh my gosh. It is a psychological thriller for sure, which I feel is weird if you explain the premise of the movie. Oh, it's about Miles Teller, and he's a drummer, and it's about him and his relationship with his teacher, J.K. Simmons. And it's a psychological thriller. That to me just does not go with the plot of the movie, but it works so well. I think J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller both give their performances of their career, and I feel like you hear me say that a lot, oh, so-and-so gave their career performance, whatever. I don't just... These movies, I do really mean that when I say that. I know it may feel like I throw it around a lot. I do really mean that when I say that. They have such a great chemistry, J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller. A toxic chemistry, but great nonetheless. The movie is so wearing on you. By the end, I was tired. I mentally felt tired after watching this movie, but in the best possible, not oh my gosh, that was such a hard watch, because it is a hard watch, but it's a good watch because the film is so good. It just continues to build and build and build, and it gets to a point where you think okay, this is it. It's over. It's done. Oh, nope, it's still going until it just, boiling point, it just explodes. The tension of this movie is extremely palpable, and it honestly stressed me out quite a bit watching it. 9 out of 10. So, if you add up all those scores, you get, drumroll please, an 83.5 out of 100. Let me see where that puts Hayden on the list. That's pretty good. That's a 8.35, 8.4, whatever, if you want to round up. I'll just round up. It's 8.5, whatever, for each movie. That's a good score. That puts him right in the middle. It actually ties him with Edmund's list. So there you go. Stay tuned for the next episode. Hayden, thank you for putting together this list. I really enjoyed watching all these movies. The next episode, I will be reviewing the movies of my good friend, Mr. Aaron Tran. I've actually finished watching all the movies. I just have to put in my notes that I do. And then I'll record that one and you'll see that soon. And right now I'm currently watching Mr. Dalen Wynn's top 10 favorite movies. So stay tuned for the next couple episodes as I go through my friend group. And then I got to figure out what whose movies I'm going to do after that, because I don't have very many friends. So we'll have to figure something out. But thank you so much for watching this episode. Hayden, once again, thank you for putting together your list and sending it over to me. And this has been another episode of this series. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Peace.